we're going to do boat ops. There'll be 3-person boat. EM1, EM2 will go out. We'll deploy.
The floods of April 2023 taught us a lot.
Safer ways to get in and out of that boat without rocking it.
We've been working hard to make sure that we're prepared for whatever the next event may possibly be.
2, 3.
A quarter of our department have been going through flood water classes to learn how to be better prepared. In this class, they're using dry suits, low draft boats, navigational devices.
On that, I'll call the meeting to order, and if we could stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the first order of business is to elect a chair and vice chair, and we can take nominations for chair. Yes, Tim.
I nominate Arthur again.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, Arthur is chair again. And then we'll take nominations for vice chair.
I would nominate Shane Taylor.
Please make sure you turn on your mics.
I'd nominate Shane Taylor. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Check 1, 2.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right, motion passes. Shane, congratulations as vice chair. And I'll turn it back over to the chair to continue the meeting.
I know you know how to run the meeting. You're on, boss. We're on. Okay. Good afternoon. First, we will hear the draft minutes from the previous meeting. Are there any objections or comments? Or do we, well, actually, Tricia, we don't have a quorum yet. Can we do this?
You do have a quorum. You have 5 members.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's right. So are there any comments or I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting? So moved. Second? I'll second. Seconded by Shane. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. So now we will swear in anyone who plans to speak before the board. If you would stand up, and the city attorney will administer the oath of office. The assistant city attorney.
Everyone that plans to speak in front of the board this evening, please stand and raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I swear to tell the whole truth, the whole, I forget, nothing but the truth. Yeah, we're good. Sorry.
So help me God. Whatever. No, yeah, it's true. All right, thank you. Now we'll go to the agenda. The first item, case UDP HP 24039 at 701 Southwest 12th Avenue. I understand there's a request for deferral.
That's correct, and the property owner is here to make that request. Gabriel, if you'd like to go to the
Please
podium,
come
please.
up to the microphone, and you just have to introduce yourself yet again. Could you pull the mic a little? Yeah, thank you.
I'm the owner of 701 12th Avenue, and I'm here to request a deferral. I had I was planning to bring renderings and images of the alterations, and I have them ready, but I just need to like put them together in the presentation forms, and I'm sure I'm going to have it ready for the next meeting.
Okay. So you want a deferral until the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. By then I should have everything ready.
Yes, please make a motion to defer the item.
Someone needs to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to defer this.
Until the
Until our
meeting.
August meeting.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
Seconded.
That's
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
and the next
Just-
meeting is on Monday, August 4th at
Okay.
5 p.m. Same location.
Okay. And the deadline for.
And the deadline will be, I think we said next Monday
Okay.
by 4 p.m.,
Perfect. Thank you.
July 14th.
Appreciate it.
Okay, item number 2 on the agenda is case UDP HP 25007 at 219 Southwest 2nd Avenue. First of all, do we have any disclosures on the property? Alan, just coming down, okay.
Chair, we do have one person on the board that is recusing himself from this item as a board member of the Fort Lauderdale Historical Society. So we do need to move past this item and come back to it until
Okay.
Jonathan comes to the meeting.
Are we
So
expecting
once,
Jonathan?
yes, once he arrives, he
We'll go
said
back.
he would be here by 6, so my apologies, but
Okay.
we would be able
We'll
to vote
move
on
on
it
to the
then.
next item, which is UDP HP 25007, 219 Southwest 2nd Avenue.
I think that's.
And oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading it again. 209 Southwest 11th Avenue, UDP HP 25008. First of all, are there any disclosures on this? Nothing. Nothing? Any disclosures down at this end?
No disclosures.
Okay. And then, Tricia, would someone read the report?
Yes, Lena is the case planner for this
Great.
item.
Good evening, everybody. This is the case number UDP HP 25008, and the request is replacement of 3-tab asphalt shingle roof with a new metal roof on a contributing property in the Sailboat Bend Historic District. The property is located at 209 Southwest 11th Avenue, and it's a single-family residence built in 1937. The structure was identified as contributing, and the proposal includes a replacement of the existing 3-tab shingle roof. Could you please go to the next slide, Jerry? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So the proposal includes the replacement with a new standing seam metal roof. The new charcoal gray metal panels will cover both the primary residential structure and the screened enclosure at the back. We found that this application doesn't meet the criteria, ULDR criteria. The proposed roof replacement will impact the historic facade and architectural elements. According to the original permit record card, the roof was listed as a composition shingle roof. The proposed standing seam metal roof doesn't have a historical basis and will alter the architectural style. We believe that 3-tab shingles replacement would be more appropriate, matching the existing design and roofing materials of the related landmark. So application does not meet criterion based, like general criteria, and it doesn't also meet the criteria additional guidelines from the United States Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation, because in the original architectural plans, the roof covering materials is listed as composition shingle roof, and a more appropriate replacement would be an asphalt shingle roof aligning with the existing design. Application does not meet criterion. So we think that this application case number UDP HP 25007, located at 209 Southwest 11th Avenue, doesn't meet the criteria as outlined in sections 472411D3CI and 472411D3CII and 47-2417. We are asking board to make a motion for approval, a motion for approval with conditions, or a motion for denial. If you would like to approve this application, following conditions for the certificate of appropriateness are provided for consideration, which are the application is subject to approval by building, zoning, and ULDR requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. Since we have no disclosures, first of all, is the applicant here or someone representing the applicant?
Yes.
Would you like to get up and just tell us a little bit about the project?
I'm shorter.
Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Ashley Davis. I'm the permit coordinator for Action Roofing that's doing the roof or plans to do the roof.
Okay. And you're proposing the slate gray metal roofing as you're showing in the picture there.
Correct.
Okay. And can you tell us the owner's reasoning for selecting this type of roof?
Well, the metal's more durable. It has a lifetime warranty rather than 20, 30 years like the shingle does. It'll save them money on their cooling. I know they're interested in that, keeping their bill down.
How long is the warranty?
The warranty for metal is lifetime.
Lifetime?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's approved for the high velocity zone, the hurricanes, because we're in that zone.
Yes. Okay. Anyone have any questions? Or?
Well, just a comment that we just had a roof from Nast Roofing, and Tim Nast gave a very informative, enlightening or history of tin roofs, metal roofs, so to speak, going so far back that they actually could be argued that they're appropriate and they fit the time period. Also, I lean towards the safety factors of a roof that's going to last and, you know, work with hurricane conditions. I think that's something we have to give some kind of, you know, consideration to when people are doing their roofs over. They want to put something up there that they're going to get their money back and that they can count on. I don't believe the shingle roof even compares in durability to this roof under wind, right?
Correct.
No comparison.
It can withstand 140 miles per hour, so.
But the metal will.
Correct.
Okay.
Metal.
That's just a comment.
Okay. Any other comments, questions?
I have a question on the environmental aspects of one roof versus the other. Can you give us any input in that direction?
Environmental how?
The disposal aspect of it when the roof goes or anything along those lines?
I would not have an answer for that. I wouldn't know.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? Gordon? Sure.
Am I live, Lena?
Yeah.
Question for you. Just can you walk us through this application versus the one that Tim's talking about that we recently reviewed? And I believe you come up with your recommendation based on the guidelines and you're stuck to those guidelines. However, our discussion on the earlier case gave credence to everything about the durability, lasting, hazard insurance, everything about this type of roof. So is there any additional flavor you have on this?
No, we just think that this the existing roof matches the architectural, like it's one of the major features of the house. The roof is very important in terms of visual effect and appearance of the structure. and existing roof looks original, and it is recorded that there is a history of property records with asphalt shingle roof recorded as an original material. And metal roof, yes, we discussed it before. It's more like durable material. It's more effective in terms of time, like, and warranty. But there is this, mixed impression because on one side it's more durable, but it doesn't meet the criteria, historical criteria. But the material itself, metal roof, is appropriate according to the guidelines, design guidelines of the historical district. So that's why we want you to decide if it's appropriate or not.
Well, I'm going to weigh in with my 3 cents here that, we, as I've mentioned a number of times before, and with the history of the board, although it's not in the code, this board has approved metal roofs for, I want to say, similar types of homes, even though every home is not similar. They're all unique. But I think given the fact that the longevity and the durability and the storm protection, I think, as I've been saying for a few years now, we have to change the code. We have to allow this in certain instances. And I don't know how we can get that to happen on a faster track than it has been.
So the material and design guidelines for the Sailboat Bend Historic District do list standing seam metal roofs as an option for the board's consideration. But when we're reviewing an application for a change in roofing materials, we're looking at how it's affecting the overall architectural integrity of that building. And when you're reviewing for historic preservation, you're reviewing to make sure that you're preserving the structure and its appearance, and not just for any type of material that might be suitable within a given boundary. So we're looking specifically at this property, the history of this property, and the architectural characteristics, and that's how we're formulating our recommendation based on the criteria we have to review any of these requests.
One additional question, just not on the roof, but I can't make out what the material is of the house itself, and what are the owner's plans to repaint dark brown?
The material it's stucco.
It is stucco, okay. Mm-hmm. And they haven't come in with any kind of plan in terms of what the house would look like when it's done?
No, I mean, the only request that we have at this time is to replace the roof.
Okay. Thank you. With that, we'll entertain a motion.
Gee whiz. Everybody's looking at me.
I can sit down.
Well, before I make my motion, I'll say that I definitely understand the value, or at least the respect to historic preservation and the appearance of the building. But I'm more prone to be considerate to the practicality of long-term wear and tear on the investment, which is huge. This isn't just a small investment. This is a very big investment. I recently put almost a $50,000 roof on my home, and that was eye-opening. So whatever this roof costs today is going to cost a whole lot more in the future. And I'm inclined, because it is metal, and because it's a gray metal roof, which for me falls into the gray area. So I'm going to make a motion to approve this, and I'll need some help with this one. I'm going to make a motion to improve the case number. Which one are we, 2008?
Yes.
Yes, case UDP HP 25008. I'm making a motion to approve that, and I'm having a hard time finding it on here to read everything, so.
The end.
Is that the end?
Well, I know you're at the end.
Anybody over there at the
Could we have a little
help table help me with this one?
I don't have the printed version.
Motion to
Yeah.
approve the resolution for a certificate
There it
of
is.
appropriate for major alterations under case number UDP HP 25008 located at 209 Southwest 11th Avenue. Based on, help me with this there. Hello. I'm based on the following findings, which is the findings that were found by the
Well, you can't base it on the staff report if you're approving the roof, because the staff report is stating that it's not appropriate.
Tim, you can use the testimony
I'm sorry,
Based on our testimony.
that was heard.
based on the testimony provided to us tonight, and subject to any of the following conditions. Are there any? I have none, other than
No.
they do.
No, the conditions are the application is subject to approval by building, zoning, and all ULDR requirements.
Thank you. And that's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
With that, is there a second to the motion?
You second it?
I can't second
I'll
it.
second it.
You'll second it. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
All right, the motion carries. Congratulations. So our next case is UDP HPD 25001, historic landmark rescission of the property located at 1109 Northwest 16th Place. Oh, it shouldn't go northeast, I'm sorry. Yeah, it does say, yeah. That makes more sense, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any disclosures on this home?
None.
None? None? No disclosure?
No disclosure.
Okay. Would someone read the staff report, please?
Yeah, I'll do my best. So this is case number UDP HPD 25001, and the request is the rescission of historic landmark site designation of Robinson Cobb House at 1109 Northeast 16th Place. It's a very interesting case, by the way. So the Robinson Cobb House, or Leonard Glasser model home, located at 1109 Northeast 16th Place, was designated as a historic landmark on September 4th, 2002, under resolution number 02-138. So the designation was requested by the owners at that time. It was Jeffrey Cobb and Benny Robinson. They appeared before the Historic Preservation Board on July 8th, 2002. So it was almost 23 years ago. And so what is interesting about this designation, it was actually denied by Historic Preservation Board. But later, City Commission approved this case number 25H02, and designated this property under 4 criteria C, F, G, and H. So today, to go back and designate the property, we have to go over all these criteria. And I don't want to go through the staff report because it was a big research work, and we don't have a lot of time today. We have a lot of cases, so I'll just summarize everything if you don't mind. So we think that the original designation application was generally underdeveloped, lacking substantial evidence, supporting exhibits, and clear definitions, and it was relied on vague and broadly used terminology with weak and unsubstantiated references, and not good like ties to historically significant events. We think that criteria C and F may have potential if further developed in the meaningful analysis with historical or architectural relevance, but it never was done. And criteria G and H would be more appropriate applied to a neighborhood, not to a specific property. So I will just go over all criteria and just briefly give you the staff response. Criteria C, it's identification with a person or persons who significantly contributed to the development of the city, state, or nation. Staff response. Designation under this criterion for the first property owner would be more appropriate if there was documentation directly associated with Mr. Palatki, the first owner, including written or oral history that connects the association of this property with the productive life as a prominent entertainer. Given the modest historical relevance and limited documentation, the property does not satisfy this criterion. Also, the applicant tried to link this property to the architect, Leonard Glasser, but without any proper evidences. So this criterion does not applicable for this application. Criteria F is its distinguishing characteristics of an architectural style valuable for the study of the period, method of construction, or use of indigenous materials. Staff response, due to the multiple additions and the lack of significant architectural features outside of the primary structure, this property does not meet the criterion. Criteria G, its character as a geographically definable area possessing a significant concentration of continuity or of sites, buildings, objects, or structures united in past events of aesthetically by plan or physical development. So this criterion is typically reserved for historical districts, not for a single property. So, and such criterion G is not applicable in this case. And finally, criteria H, its character as an established and geographically definable neighborhood united in culture, architectural style, or physical plan and development. This criteria is also intended to reflect the collective identity of a neighborhood or subdivision, such as historic district, rather than individual property. Therefore, criterion H is not applicable in this case. So the conclusion from the staff that staff finds that the application rescission of historic landmark site designation of the 1109 Northeast 16th Place, commonly known as the Robinson Cope House, under case number UDP HPD 25001, no longer meets criteria C, F, G, and H, as outlined in section 47-2411C7 of the ULDR. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
That's a mouthful.
So, any questions? All right.
Yeah, I got a question. Did you?
Do we have, first of all, do we have the owners or a representative for the owner?
I'm Mr. Robbins.
Please, just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit of and just do your reasoning for doing this.
We had this
Please
requested.
introduce yourself on the record.
Oh, Ben Robinson, the owner of 1109 Northeast 16th Place. We originally had this asked for the declaration of historical because my partner, who has passed away of 50 years, he's passed away now, he loved historical properties. And we had one in Atlanta, and when we moved down here in 1995, we couldn't find one. So when we bought this house, he started thinking about it and doing a little research and decided, well, maybe we can make this one historical. Everything was fine, you know. It was never an issue until he passed away last year. And I tried to sell it, and nobody's interested. Absolutely no one will touch it. People will not buy a historical property. And so and I have to sell it. It's too expensive for me. The insurance is almost $20,000 a year now. And I just need to downsize. And I'm 73, still working full time, and I need to retire. Basically, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was interesting, during these 23 years, no one from the city ever contacted us and says, your house is historical. Can we add it to this? It was like there was never any recognition that it was historical. It was just on paper. And, there was no historical, how they do garden tours. There was never a historical tour of the house, which kind of surprised me a little bit. But I guess that's because they're also spread out. They're not all in one district. But anyway, we loved having a historical house, but it just, it's not doing us any good now, or me any good. Let's put it that way.
Understood.
Since mid-April, I've had over 25 people look at the house because you can see it's a nice house. And I priced it really right. I priced it really super low. And they're building million-plus properties in the neighborhood now. And it's a very desirable neighborhood. It's just south of, Middle River. It's south of Wilton Manors. So it's a big growth area. And 25 people have looked at it, and the realtor will always go through the house and show them the house. And the very last thing he says, I have to let you know that it has a historical designation, kills it every time.
All right. Well,
that's really why I'm here.
Okay.
I'm just being real,
thank you very much.
Transparent.
All right. Great.
But thank you for considering it.
Okay. And with that, are there any questions, comments?
I'm in favor of the request and happy to make a motion.
Well, wait, let's go through everybody. Shane?
I agree.
You agree? That's easy.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with it. I just want to clarify that you guys took a look at this and said that if, in simple terms, had this thing been run by if this had never come before the board, or if we go backwards on this, it would have never passed. This
is an unusual case.
But if it was looking at it now under a microscope, so to speak, I don't want to use words like it should not have, but it would not have.
Yeah, this is a very unusual case, and there are a couple of properties that were designated in the past that it was a request by the property owner themselves. We had one other property owner a few years ago that made a similar in the information to support the criteria for designation. So the board recommended approval for that one as well. We've had cases in the past where someone's asked for a rescission where there is enough information to support the fact that it is designated and continues to be designated. So this is really a rare type of application that we would receive, but we did fully examine the historical record of the original application and really dug deep to be certain about this particular case.
Well, thank you so much. That's nice you clarified that. And yes, I am also in favor of the request.
Okay. Robert?
Yeah, my thinking is along the lines of the others. I also want to say a lot of empathy to you during this period of time. It is special to have historic, but when it hits you the way it's hit you, it goes beyond.
Unfortunately, we're not in Savannah, Charles.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. My one comment is I agree with everyone on the board. I don't think when this came before the historic board originally, I agree with the board in not voting for it. I think it does not rise to the level of historic or architectural significance that should be attained in order to be designated as historic. So with that, I'll open it up for a motion.
I move to recommend to approve the request for rescission of the historic landmark site designation of the Phil Resnick House located at 1109 Northeast 16th Place, commonly known as the Robinson Cobb House, Leonard Glasser Model Home, to the City Commission under case number UDP HPD 25001, based on the finding this request no longer meets criteria C, F, G, H as outlined in section 4724.11.c.7 of the ULDR.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Good luck with everything. You have to come up to the it's okay.
We appreciate the consideration. My name is Paul Falcone.
You
For
have
the
to
record.
introduce yourself.
My name is Paul Falcone for the record, and I'm Mr. Robinson's agent for all
Okay.
the process. We do appreciate it. It has become cumbersome, and I guess how soon before are you able to make this recommendation that you're able? Oh,
That would be a question for Tricia. So
Okay.
I think I would suggest maybe call her afterwards. Or unless
The
she has
recommendation will be provided to the city commission. It usually takes about 60 days to get on an agenda.
Okay.
We'll have to look at our deadlines and we'll be in touch.
On that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks. The next item on our agenda is UDP HP 25010, the installation of new detached freestanding ground sign at the West Side Fire Station.
I think we missed one.
009.
Oh, the
2500.
7-foot high, yes.
Yes.
I'm okay. UDP HP 25009.
Actually, Jonathan Keith is here. So if we could go to our second item. As
Oh,
to
wait, you
not,
want to go back to the second item?
yeah, I apologize, but just.
No problem. Okay. So our second item is, wait a second here, I need the number.
007.
UDP, there, UDP HP 25007, 219 Southwest 2nd Avenue.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. So this is case number UDP HP 25007, and the request is replacement of the existing cedar shingle roof with composite roof shingle on the King Cromartie house in the Himarshi Historic District. You all know this is one of the oldest houses in the city, earliest structures. It was built in 1907, King Cromartie House. And it's located in Himarshi Historic District, and it was relocated from its original location in Smoker Park at some point. It was shipped, actually, from one location to another. And this structure has undergone several roof renovations within the last 40, 50 years. Almost every 20 years they have to replace the roof because of the climate. And now they are proposing to replace cedar shake roof with the new composite roof. And the company name is Brava Cedar Shake. Polymeric, it's Brava Roofing Company. Yes, it's a cedar shake polymeric roof coverings. It's a new generation of roof materials. It has this pure mineral pigments that makes this material fade resistant, and it also it's proved to work well in high velocity hurricane zone in South Florida. So it's a very good and nice material which matches the existing roof material. It's high performance roofing material that replicates the natural appearance of the cedar shake. And we also checked with the requirements of the National Park Service that provides a range of substitute materials that under certain circumstances may be considered for use as a replacement of historical materials. And this type of material is it is approved and recommended by National Park Service. So our response to this request is the proposed roof replacement is appropriate. maintaining the existing design and preserving the architectural integrity of the structure. The high-performance roofing material replicates the appearance of the existing cedar shake roof in both color and size, while offering enhanced impact resistance and fade resistance. Its lightweight yet durable composition doesn't require structural modifications or reinforcement, which is very important as well for renovation. Additionally, this sustainable and environmentally friendly material is made from recycled materials and complies with Florida Building Code. So this application meets like general criteria, and it also meets the criteria of the United States Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation, Standard 6 of the United States, Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation and Guidelines for Rehabilitating Historic Buildings states that when replacing a distinctive feature, the new feature must match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities and, where possible, materials. As part of this historic rehabilitation project, the proposed material can be considered an appropriate substitute, as it replicates the design, size, color, texture, and overall visual qualities of the existing materials. And it also aligns with the recommendations of the National Park Service Technical Preservation Services, which states that substitute materials that closely match the visual and physical properties of historic materials can be successfully used on many rehabilitation projects in ways that are consistent with the standards. Application meets criterion. Staff finds that the application for the Certificate of Appropriateness for Major Alterations under case number UDP HP 25007, located at 229 Southwest 2nd Avenue, does meet the criteria as outlined in sections 4724.11.d.3.c.i and 4724.11.d.3.c.ii and 47-16. Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant?
Hello, my name is Art Bengochea. I am an architect here in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm also been a member of the board and past president of the Fort Lauderdale Historical Society, going on about 25 years now. In my 25 years there, this is the third time we've replaced this roof. This roof that's on there now is only 10 years old. And each time it's $50,000 to replace it or more. And so when we decided to move forward with replacing the roof, because we have leaks now, we were looking for a product that closely matched the cedar shake, but was would last longer. And luckily I did a house in Rio Vista with a product like this about 7 years ago, and it turned out beautiful. People say to my clients, love your cedar shakes. So I brought a sample of it, which I know I'm supposed to leave with you all. I believe if I bring show and tell, you get to keep it.
That'd be great. Well,
yeah. So I can pass it around, but let me just show it briefly. I can't say more than what Lena had said, that it is environmentally safe and it's made with recycled materials. It meets the hurricane code. It's fade resistant. It's very lightweight, so it matches the weight of a cedar shake. And in terms of cost, it's actually cheaper than a cedar shake. So it meets all our criteria, and luckily it meets all your criteria also.
What is its lifetime?
30 years.
Okay.
So, and the nice thing about it, then the shading we're going with is probably slightly darker than what's there now, but with the air pollution that's around, hopefully this won't need pressure washing as often as a cedar shake would.
Okay.
So I'm more than happy to pass this around
Sure.
if you all want to. and a little bit of history on the house. The junior league moved it from Smoker Park, and I was in college, so it had to have been about '73. My mother sent me the newspaper clipping that it was being barged up the river, and because at that time the junior league was operating the New River Inn basically as a discovery center, which then now has become the Museum of Discovery and Science. Anyway, I don't know if you have any questions. More than happy to. Like I said, I can't give a better presentation than what your staff has given.
Good. Any questions? If there are, we will direct them. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Comments? Board?
Great presentation, like it. Wish we could fit it in the metal category, like for some of the others.
Oh.
But I like it. It's very good. Appreciate it. Thank you.
If I can say something, we actually were told we couldn't use metal on this because that was one of our options. So we were looking for something else.
It wasn't politically appropriate.
Right.
Yes.
Correct.
Or
Good. Okay.
if you mind if I ask a question.
Okay.
Did you, what do you think the issues with the past few roofs? What was the cause of that? Was it the
Jonathan, could you please turn on your mic?
Oh, sorry.
The problem.
You gotta.
The problem
Is it
with
not
the
working?
glass roofs. I don't know if you've ever had a cedar shake in Florida. It's not particularly to this structure. It's not a particular issue to this structure. Anytime you use a cedar shake in South Florida, it rots. It needs a lot. If you want to keep a cedar shake roof looking good, you have to constantly be sealing it and making sure that you don't get mold and growth from it. So it looks beautiful the first few years you've got it, and then after that, it's very hard to maintain.
Okay. Anything else? No. Tim?
No, I'm in favor of it. Sounds great. I love the new shingle look. I had cedar houses for a long time. Cedar does deteriorates rapidly, and that, you know, most of the time you put it there because termites don't eat it. But that's about the only plus to it. As far as structure goes, it doesn't have any. After a point in time, it's like turns into a cornflake.
Great. And I also think the product sounds perfect for the house, and I would definitely approve it. So with that, we're open for a motion from a board member, excluding me.
Like our new vice chair.
Okay.
I will make a motion to approve the resolution for certificate of appropriateness for
Hey,
major.
one second. We just realized that the one board member didn't say on the record that he was recusing himself.
Yes.
Just to put it there.
Yeah, I just want to add that I'm a board member.
I know, okay.
No, for the records, that I am a board member of the Historical Society, so therefore I recuse myself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to start over. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for a certificate of appropriateness for major alterations under case number UDP HP 25007, located at 229 Southwest 2nd Avenue, based on the findings of fact as outlined in the staff memorandum and the testimony we heard here today, and subject to approval by building, zoning, and ULDR requirements.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Say nay. All carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Our next item is PHP 25009 at 301 Southwest 2nd Street. This is for after the fact installation of a 7-foot-high horizontal wood fence and synthetic hedge assembly.
Good afternoon, Tricia Logan, Principal Urban Planner. This item is a request for an after-the-fact placement and installation of a wooden fence and hedge assembly at the property at 301 Southwest 2nd Street. This property is located in the Himmershey Historic District. And, can we change the slides, please? Can we advance to the correct item? It's item number 5. Keep going, please. More. It's a few down. There, go back one. Okay, we're good. So this property is located in the Himmershey Historic District. It includes a 1-story structure on the east side of the property, and it has a new addition, which is now the Chemistry Nightclub. The 1-story structure was original to the district as a gas station and was converted over time into a convenience store and had multiple alterations over time up until 2017 when the new addition was placed on it. The current request for the after-the-fact placement includes the wall assembly that is surrounding the east side of the property and the south side of the property, and it completely encapsulates the 1-story older structure on the site. The bottom part of the assembly is a 3-foot 8-inch horizontal plank wood fence, and on top of it is a 3-foot 4-inch synthetic hedge material, all placed on a fixed frame. Within the historic preservation design guidelines, it does state that fences should be limited in height to 36 inches or 3 feet with 30% visibility. That is for the purpose of the pedestrian experience, particularly in a commercial area. This is important that you do have that visibility into the site and that is maintained along the right-of-way. So that also relates to ULDR section 472411 D3C2, which talks about the distinguishing original qualities or character of a building, structure, or site, and its environment shall not be destroyed. So that relates to the historic preservation design guidelines and limitation of the fence heights. And in conclusion, staff finds that the application for a certificate of appropriateness for major alterations for this after-the-fact request under case number UDP-HP 25009, located at 307 Southwest 2nd Street, does not meet the criteria as outlined in section 472411 D3CI of the ULDR, and does not meet the criteria as outlined in section 472411 D3CII of the ULDR. And there's 2 conditions listed for the board's consideration of this application is to be approved. The first condition is actually placed in error, but the second condition would still apply. This application is subject to the approval by building, zoning, and all ULDR requirements, including landscaping. And in this case, that may require that if this were to be approved, that it would still need to be moved back 3 feet on the property and landscaping put in front of it.
Thank you, Tricia. I have a quick question. What was here before?
There was not a fence in that location before.
Or was it a cafe or a restaurant or
So
a
beyond
store?
it is a patio. So when the new addition was completed, that is now the nightclub, it's connected in a small area on the west side of the 1-story structure. And then an awning, like a canopy awning, was placed around that patio that was created in front of the 1-story
So that's
structure.
like a canvas awning going around.
There is a canvas awning going around it, and then the fence and hedge assembly was placed around the perimeter of that canopy.
How thick
So-
is the hedge? I didn't, I only drove by.
It's not too thick overall, but it is. It
It's more
doesn't
than
give
a
any
facade.
visibility. Yeah.
Okay, I understood. Thank you. the applicant here?
Yes.
Please introduce yourself.
My name's Kevin Berman. I'm a local real estate broker and property manager for this property owner that currently owns it. I do offer a unique perspective on the history, which we just went over. But there is some additional information. I did not do any of this. The owner did not do this. The tenants did it, and we're just trying to help come to
So
some.
who are you representing?
I'm representing the property owner.
The property owner.
Correct.
Who leased this out to the tenants.
Correct, to the tenant. And the tenant did this for many reasons, which I think we spoke to the other board. Some of you were here, I think, on.
No.
Okay.
Why don't you tell us what the reasons were?
So the beyond that photo was not really by itself really help you. Behind it, there's actually 3 bars. So there's sinks, running water, electricity, and it's almost like an outdoor patio that is to attract people in. Unfortunately, that attracted all sorts of elements during the day and at night, and for people to find refuge in the neighborhood that would be elsewhere. But so that was one problem. The problem really that the tenant was experiencing more during business hours was that there's very limited crowd control in the neighborhood. It is a big corner, and I think if any of you have been there, you would see hundreds of people in the streets carry over. So it's a safety issue. The tenant doesn't actually use that patio currently as a bar or any of that. It's more for egress and entrance and queuing the line for people to come into the club.
So the question begs to be asked, why are the bars there?
That was done. That's a good question for whoever approved the expansion in 2017. Okay. But the current owner bought it as existing. So all of this happened, kind of happened over the years. The big issue back in 2017, I wasn't involved with the ownership, the current ownership, but I was a tenant and a colleague of the owner at the time who did all this. And the big sticking point from my understanding with the approval was that the gas station should be visible from the street, hence the 30% visibility, which I guess allowed for the bars to be done and some of the other stuff. But the owner at the time, when he was building it out, created like a mural
permit, you got to take it down?
Yeah, it's after the fact.
Well, it doesn't mean it's
There's
going to
no
be torn down.
fines. There's nothing yet in regards to the outcome. They've tabled it for this meeting, really.
Yeah, and my question is based on the fact that if this thing could not be built to begin with, then we really don't need to discuss whether or not it's got any kind of historic interruption, because it's not going to be there.
So what's your opinion here?
My opinion is it's a tough one. I'm always kind of take a step back when people do things without asking, but I know why they do it. I've lived in town for 50 years. And, you know, by the time you get permission to put a roof on your house, your house is gone because the disrepair has been waiting so long. But the function of the place is a nightclub, correct?
Correct.
And what's the name of it, if you don't mind me asking?
Chemistry.
What is it?
Chemistry.
Okay. That's interesting. What do they make in there?
It's a play on beverages. And,
So it's down in second area? Okay.
It's on Himmer Street, yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't been down there in quite some time. But, I understand the need for nightclub security. I understand that neighborhood when it first was redeveloped, and the intention was to bring people down there and have a good time. And that's still their intention. But their challenge is there's a huge mix down there, and there's maybe more going on than the city can control. It kind of went sideways on them to a degree. And I understand what the tenants are doing, but that's between them and their owner.
Yes.
That's why we're talking to the owner.
We weren't, as ownership was not consulted in it. It was done more out of ignorance of knowing
Right.
that this would be something that the historic would have an issue.
From the historic staff, how long ago did they declare this place historic? When was it designated?
1978.
And has there been additions and revisions to it to make it a nightclub? Like add-ons? Or has it always been this property?
So there is an original one-story structure to the site, which was a gas station, and then it was converted over time. The exterior has changed over time, and then probably like 1950s, it has its current appearance with the Mediterranean style roof and everything. But then in 2015-16, a two-story addition was proposed for the west side of that original structure. It's a large addition. It was completed in 2017, and that is what houses the nightclub.
Okay. So they kept, similar to what we did on the beach with one of the hotels, where they kept a portion of the original structure or the original structure.
The original structure is there, more or less in its entirety, minus the canopy that was there previously
And
for
then
the
they
gas
added
station.
on more square footage to accommodate their business needs and maintain the
I
historic.
think it was used as a parking lot prior.
A dirt parking lot, which was then in 2015 or so not allowed any longer. So the current owner did not want to pave and make it an actual parking lot. He wanted to build Chemistry,
Right.
the expansion.
So
which
with
was
his
given.
expansion, he got a whole lot more people coming into that little gas station structure.
Yes.
And he had to put them somewhere. He
Right.
put them in his new place, and now he's got problems that require some security fencing.
Well, the current owner is not the owner who did all of that. It's really unique. I don't want to bore you with everything, but if it was just the gas station and no one ever had approved the expansion in 2017, the value was in the easement, the parking easement over the adjacent land, which that's going to be another whole thing. But
let's stay with
right.
the project here.
So
let's stay with why this
absolutely.
was built.
This was built to help control the crowds and as it turns out, save lives. That's.
What's the feasibility of moving back 3 feet, adding landscaping?
That is a possibility, I guess. I think that it becomes an issue. Then you have smaller space on the inside, and then they can't cue the line the way they would need to do. There wouldn't be enough room on the inside. So,
Alan, I have a much bigger issue with this project. Besides the fact that it's after the fact, which is a whole different thing, which is this board needs to take a look at. I don't think this is the right use for a front yard on a property, because you're totally obscuring whatever building was back there, historic or not, but this is a district. And it sets a really bad precedent for anybody that comes down the pike afterwards, because the first thing they'll say is, well, they blocked off their property, we can do the same with ours. And that's not the kind of street that you want to accept.
Arthur, can I just make a comment on that?
Sure.
If you look at the properties on the other side of the street, the
Right.
same side of the street, none of them have this sort of front yard area. You can see that the fence is
Right.
at the same level, setback from the street as the building next to it, which I guess is the addition. And all of the buildings on the other side is just one face that's all even.
Just
There's
one
no,
face
setback.
on
So
the street front.
This is a little bit unique, and I think that it's the only property on that street that sort of has this front patio type thing. Is that fair to say?
That is very fair. It's a very unique property. The entire situation is unique. I would even make additional suggestions, which I agree with a lot of your statement about. It's not, if it's historic, you're not. So I even discussed with the tenant was the possibility of, well, they want to be able to show what's there. Can we do tours? Can we have access to it? Because it is secure. Like if you were to go there right now, it's locked. You could still see it if you walk up to the gate and the fence on the corner, but you couldn't really have an idea for it. So why
So
not make it open?
The yellow building behind this gate is the old gas station.
Correct.
And to the west, that's the old OB house. Is that right?
To the west, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's adjoining, right?
It's adjoining to the structure that was added in 2017.
Right.
It's not part of the OB house.
Okay.
Right.
Facilities. What are they using for facilities in it? If it's not.
Oh, so, well, the gas station has really no facility. If it was just prior to 2017, it was just a shed. It was a big rod of wood. It was nothing.
I have a quick question to Tricia. Many years ago, when I first started on this board, we covered a property on Southwest 2nd that was the original gas station, and there was a gas pump, and we wanted to preserve it. This is not the same property, is it?
Probably is.
Probably is.
Because
It was the only property.
So what happened to the gas pump?
I'm not sure if the gas pump was there at the time.
Not in the last 28 years.
I do remember it was a vacant lot, and there were a lot of odds and ends on the lot, and the building was on the corner.
The project
this is across
itself
from Pizza
was
Craft. It's across from Pizza Craft there.
correct.
Yeah.
The main project was approved prior to my starting at the city, but it did come in for an amendment after I had started, and there was a conversation about putting in what Mr. Berman referred to as the like the artwork.
Right, the mural. It's a tile mural. It actually has some more architectural relevance than the structure without it.
It shows the original design of the gas station prior to modifications.
Right, okay. Well, I'd like to hear what the rest of the board is thinking.
Well, what's the rest of the issues as far as with the code enforcement, CEB?
Well, I think that the question about moving it back 3 feet, I think that was that code enforcement says, okay, well, if you move it back, we wouldn't have the question right now, but then they wouldn't it would be a problem
But
on
if
the
you-
inside.
If you move it back, you're still going to be against the historic preservation guidelines because first of all, you have a fence that's not compliant, and then it goes up too high, that's also not compliant.
Right.
Yeah, I
But
think
it
you,
would- it
you have
would-
a pizza maker there on wheels. Is that correct?
No, that's at what is now used to be the OB house.
Okay.
That is something garden. They have an outdoor area. That's pretty unique. Yeah, that moves. So there was talk about maybe putting the planters on wheels and being able to wheel it out later in the night, but they're heavy, and it becomes a larger issue for them. They may not have it at all. And if I will tell you, if they removed it, what you're saying about, I mean, there's all the other businesses. If you take chemistry out of the equation here and what they did without the permit and we're here now, this was where everyone in the neighborhood came and hung out, food trucks, vendors, I mean, you name it. And they plug in to the electric, to the water, and they use the resources, and it's, it's a separate issue, which, to burden anyone with, I mean.
My
These
challenge
These
there-
are more operational issues.
Correct.
I'd like to deal with the neighborhood issues.
With that, the neighborhood issue, what I was thinking was, why don't they just take the other parking lots and do the same thing? Yeah.
Why doesn't who?
Yeah. Well, if you can do that here, why can't they take the other parking lots and do the same thing without approval?
They could.
Yeah.
Do what?
What?
Just fence them in?
Fence them in like this. And as I said, this sets a precedent.
Right.
So somebody else
Well-
could do the same thing.
Again, I like to put this idea out there.
Yeah.
I would really like to have more information. I myself personally need to go down there and look at the neighborhood. I want to look at the property. I want to see its impact or continuity, et cetera, before we start talking about what we do it for one week.
Right.
We are not going to allow it to be done for another. That's code and building and zoning is going to either say, look, you can't do this, which our chore is to say whether or not it meets the conditions that go along with historic preservation, which is the height of the fence, and whether or not it's blocking the view of the historic building. That's not to say I agree with all that. I'm just saying that's our job.
I'll be there Thursday morning at about 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we have
I
to,
will
we
give
have
a tour
to,
of the whole
Well,
property.
we have to consider the evidence presented in front of us.
Was it approved as a business as it stands?
Correct.
Wait, I
I
didn't hear
believe
what
so,
the
yes.
assistant city attorney said.
I said we have to consider the evidence presented in front of us today.
Well, I'm gonna ask for whatever course we have to take to delay this, or ask this gentleman to ask us to delay it. I feel we could make, and this is I know I could make a better decision if I had more information and more pertinent to what this situation really is.
That's fair.
That's fair enough.
That's just a thought,
Okay.
and see what everybody thinks.
Tim, I'm glad you suggested that because I really can't make a decision on this. I don't know enough. I don't have a feeling for it. So I think Tim's suggestion is great.
What more would you want to know?
Well, what would I? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I know that our only condition is defense. I understand that. But I also am considerate to the use of the building, the security in the neighborhood. We had a guy put a fence around his home a couple of years back. I don't know if you guys remember this. I had somebody run into my yard, a homeless person, and break into my garage while I was doing a Zoom meeting. It was during COVID. And I had a few expletives that were heard by everyone because I saw this guy and I chased him with a golf club. But in any case, I'm just saying it was so unusual that this gentleman was trying to put a 6-foot fence around his home, and there was a murder like on his sidewalk. He's had a family. He had just bought the house. He did everything right. And he said, listen, I got to get a higher fence. People can jump over this fence. He had police reports to show that he had problems. So these are things, although they're not up for our consideration at the moment, but there's still things we can't deny. So I just want to go down, take a look at it, see how ridiculous it might be or not, see what the view is. Maybe we can come to some middle ground on a different design for this fence. I don't know.
I will add, Tim, that case that you are mentioning, the property owner was asking for a 4-foot high fence.
What now?
A 4-foot high fence.
Who was? He was asking for 4. I thought he was asking for higher, and he settled for 4. Maybe.
He might have been asking for a little higher, maybe 5, but it was still.
But the request was a security issue, and I feel like this is a similar situation.
Before we vote on Tim's suggestion, if he wants us to, I have a question for the representative here. In the space between the fence and the front of the building, there's bars there now, right?
There's a few bars.
Well, but there's bars, there's plumbing.
There's a handicap
electric.
chairlift
Okay.
in tucked away in the
When
corner.
was this all put in? Do we have any idea?
2017.
On 17?
Yeah, 2017.
So there was no permit for this?
Of course there was. Absolutely.
There was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The owner at the time built it out all. He was here
And
before.
what did the owner at the time show as the front fence?
He didn't do that. The fence. The current tenant that's there now put the fence in about 3
So there
years.
was no fence prior?
There was no fence
That's what I
prior.
was
It was open, and then that's
Okay.
when some of the other issues that we're discussing started to happen.
So Tim, would you like to make a motion?
Well, I don't. Am I allowed to make a
How does
motion to put
everyone-
this
I
thing
would
on
ask
pause?
the applicant if he's interested in continuing.
I'm sorry, I didn't
We
hear
have
you.
to, would you be interested if we were to make a motion
Certainly.
to push this back 1 month to give us a chance to drive by?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I'd rather that than a no answer because
Right.
then it,
Okay.
forces me to tell the tenant, take it down, and basically it creates, issues. So.
So just, you can make a motion to continue.
Just make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone the decision on this matter until next month's meeting.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your time.
Motion carries. Thank you. Good idea.
Very good.
So next is certificate of appropriateness for major alteration, UDP HP 25010, installation of new detached freestanding ground sign at the West Side Fire Station. Do we have a representative of the city?
Would you like a staff report?
Yes. Oh, yes. Before you speak, and do we have any disclosures?
None.
None. No disclosures. Okay. And now we'll have the staff report, and then we'll come to you.
Sir.
So this request is for a new aluminum freestanding ground sign at the Fort Lauderdale Fire and Safety Museum, which is at the corner of West Las Olas and Southwest 11th Avenue in the Sailboat Bend Historic District. It's a Francis Abreu fire station. It's also a designated historic landmark. The request is to place a 4-foot wide by 3-foot high, it's called a lumina board type sign. We do have a sample that we'll bring over to the board for you to see what the material is.
It's a Luco bond, isn't it?
What? Now I've lost my place. Okay. But it's an aluminum type material, and then it would be placed on a 2-foot high wooden post that would be painted black. The request is to place it at the corner of the property facing outward, and it would be outside of the 20-foot site triangle that is required by the code. In the staff report, the design of the sign is included. It's also on the screen for you to see. And For the most part, this application meets the requirements of placement and size for the code. However, staff does comment within the staff report about the style of the sign, where in our design guidelines it does talk about having a sign be related to the design of the structure itself. So this doesn't really have any features associated with it to relate the sign itself back to the building.
So are you asking to make the sign Spanish Mediterranean?
Well, that would be what is called for within the design guidelines.
Character. Okay.
Correct. So in conclusion, staff finds that the application for a COA for major alterations under case number UDP-HP 25010 located at 1022 West Las Olas Boulevard meets the criteria as outlined in section 472411D3CI of the ULDR and partially meets the criteria as outlined in section 472411D3CII of the ULDR. There are two conditions included for the board's consideration if this application is to be approved. One, that landscaping must be provided around the base of the sign per ULDR section 4722.3. And this application is subject to the approval by building, zoning, and all ULDR requirements, including landscaping.
Thank you. Applicant, please introduce yourself.
Good evening. I'm Taylor Beavers. I'm the Vice President of the Fort Lauderdale Fire Museum. I'm here to seek approval on behalf of the museum and to answer any questions.
Okay. Do you have any comment about the sign, since that seems to be the subject of conversation?
So I understand there was an issue with the design of the display itself.
Right.
And on the screen on the bottom left, it portrays a picture of the front of the museum with the trucks out front instead of what used to be just the original number 3 with the 2 trucks.
So the rendering is new?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And this is only going to be a temporary sign for a few years because we're a nonprofit. It's going to be costly to build a bigger, more period of approved sign. We had an original plan to make like a roof on it to mimic the roof that's on the museum, and it was going to be block stucco so it could mimic the museum, and then have red trim like what's in front of the bays at the museum. But that's a very expensive thing to do right now when it's just a sign to advertise. Right. We're currently fixing our roof that's costing a couple $1,000s. So we're trying to prioritize to just make a temporary sign until we have the funds to make a more permanent sign.
Okay.
So that's why we're only doing this one right now.
What's the backside going to look like?
The backside is going to be blank. I'm not sure what color. I didn't create the design. I'm just here on behalf because they're out of town. But it's going to be like a V, and so the traffic on West Las Olas is going to see it, and also the traffic on 11th Avenue. 11th Avenue is going to be able to see it.
Not about it's about the design. Is this sign really going to be legible to cars driving by? Because everything looks so small.
Absolutely. With the size that it is, absolutely. We currently have a sign up right now that's a canvas banner, and it only faces West Las Olas, and it's dry rotting, it's weather deteriorated. You can't barely even make out what it has now.
Right.
This is going to be, I believe, vinyl on that metal, and you'll definitely be able to make it out a little bit better.
Okay.
When I see it, it seems like a city revision sign off the bat with a blue color instead of the fire colors of the building.
Are we talking about the one on the bottom left?
Yeah, I'm looking at the sign on the top here, and that's current. Looks like the existing sign.
Yes, that one
with
on
the
the
blue top.
Yes.
Just trying to figure out. It's too bad they didn't choose the colors of the building if they were looking to mimic.
Well, there's red there.
We have the blue header here.
The blue header on the bottom?
That's the blue header of the top of the sign.
Yeah, but the new sign.
That's
has-
the old sign.
Okay, is that what, so it's existing?
Yeah.
And then okay, got it. And the proposed sign, gotcha.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. First of all, I think it's 4 feet wide, which is pretty large. The rendition at the bottom, that's what you're proposing now. Am I correct?
This one on the left
Yeah.
is what we're proposing.
And I think it's very nice and fits the period. And I have a question of the staff. You mentioned landscaping below it. Do you have any specifications in that direction?
No, it's just a requirement of the code, and our landscape reviewers will take a look at it when it comes in for permitting. But any freestanding sign such as this does require some sort of ground cover or hedging.
Good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We could absolutely do some landscaping too. We're constantly landscaping the area
Great.
with the help of the city and donors.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, wait, just to be clear, it's going to be, so the picture at the bottom right, how that sign in that photograph is at an angle, that's how you guys plan on
Looks nice.
placing the new sign?
The new sign, I think that might have been an old sign from previous. It says, that one says 15 years old. I guess 15 years ago it had that. That's an old picture
Yeah.
from a long time ago.
Is that like how you guys are planning to place the new sign?
No, so our new one is going to be like a V, so it can be
Yeah, it
seen
shows in the
from
plan
both
there.
sides of both directions of traffic.
New sign.
The plan was updated actually to show just not as a V angle. It's just, it's kind of perpendicular to the, I guess, angle.
Yeah.
It's not really at a V shape. It's a single sign, two-sided,
So it's visible from.
but visible from both street sides.
Oh, that's been updated to where it's a single panel.
Single panel, two-sided.
Okay. Oh, I was not made aware of that. Okay.
Yeah. I think that was the original application.
Okay.
Okay, that makes more sense. Any other questions, comments,
I mean,
motions?
I live right around the corner from this, and I think
Shane, could you please turn on your mic? If too many people have their microphones on, it seems like it's not working for everybody.
well, I can just speak up. I believe
I think
by this all the time. The mic's not working.
It should be
have to get all this. And I think the idea of a sign in general is a great idea.
Yeah, most of the public that drives by the building, if there's not a sign advertising that it's a museum and that's open to the public, nobody knows. So that's the whole point of the sign.
And I would like to make a motion.
Please.
I move to approve the resolution for a certificate of appropriateness for major alteration under case number UDP HP 25010 located at 1022 West Las Olas Boulevard based on the findings of fact as outlined in the staff memorandum and conditioned on landscaping must be provided around the base of the sign per ULDR section 4722.3, and the application is subject to the approval by building, zoning, and all ULDR requirements, including landscaping.
Great, thank you.
I second it.
And seconded by Robert. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
Thank you.
very much.
And our board member that's in charge of this sign project, he'll get with you
Well,
with your
it would
board,
be Tricia
or he'll
would be
get
the
with her
one.
about
It'd be
about
staff, yes.
Yes, about the landscaping, what the requirements. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is UDP, wait a second here, hold on. UDP HP 25012, installation of new detached freestanding ground sign at the new Fort Lauderdale Police Department headquarters. Are there any disclosures?
No.
None?
None.
Okay. If not, Tricia?
this is another sign application. This is another freestanding ground sign located at the new police department headquarters. The proposal is to place this sign just west of the new driveway that will be west of the community center. So if you're familiar with what's going on over there, there is a smaller one-story structure that's separated from the main police station. So this sign would be located just west of there, west of a driveway entrance. The proposed sign is two-sided. It would be aluminum in material and is 14 feet in height and 14 feet, 9.5 inches in width. The design includes channel letters that are up at the top, spelling out the police department. It has push-through letters above that, a lit cabinet sign for the police logo, and halo lit address numbers. It also has an aluminum plaque that's placed on the sign structure itself. There's some details that are coming off the sign underneath the police department that are also lit features of the sign. Overall, it meets the requirements of the zoning location in which it sits. So you are permitted to have a 14-foot high sign in that location. It's consistent with other signs along Broward Boulevard that are much larger in scale.
Where exactly is it located?
It is located on Broward Boulevard, and if you're familiar with the site and the construction, there is a one-story community center that is just to the west of the main three-story police station, and there's a access driveway next to the community center, and the sign would be placed just west of that driveway.
It doesn't show up anywhere on a site plan.
It's on one of the site plans. There's a zoomed up area, zoomed in area.
Thanks.
Oh, if you advance one more slide, Jerry.
Thanks.
See. Could you advance one slide, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a zoomed in kind of location of where the sign would be placed.
Right.
So this sign does meet the requirements of the zoning district in which it's located, and this sign would not necessarily be appropriate in a location such as the fire station that we just talked about, but in this case, because of the context in which it sits along Broward Boulevard in a commercial business area, the overall size and scale is compatible with its surroundings. One comment that was made within the staff report was just about the police department channel letters to either utilize push-through letters or halo lit letters that create kind of a softer effect within the neighborhood. The channel letters are brighter and give off more illumination. So in conclusion, staff finds that the application for a certificate of appropriateness for major alterations under case number UDP-HP 25012 located at 1300 West Broward Boulevard meets the criteria as outlined in section 472411 D3CI of the ULDR and meets the criteria as outlined in section 2411 D3CII of the ULDR. There are a couple of conditions that are listed for the board's consideration of this application as to be approved. That includes 1, either push-through or halo-lit letters for police department letters to enhance the overall appearance of the sign within the context of the historic district. 2, setback of 5 feet and total square footage to be verified by zoning at the time of permitting. And 3, this application is subject to the approval by building, zoning, and all ULDR requirements, including landscaping at the base of the sign.
Thank you.
And Yannick is here to represent the applicant, AECom.
Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Unique Virgo with AECom. So I'm here to answer any questions
You're
you
with
may
the
have.
architects.
Correct.
Okay.
I have a question. The recommendations by the city that she just mentioned, are you fine with those recommendations?
I would have to confirm with the city's project manager to confirm that the pricing that they've received would not be affected by changing the letters, but we wouldn't, as a design team, would not have an issue with it.
And also the 5 foot?
Yes, it's set back 5 feet from the property line. Yes.
I had a question on your four, is it the 4 LED halos under your department next to the street number there? Is that-
not
is
sure
that
what
LED
picture you're
lighting?
looking at.
So you've got your, I guess we don't have the picture up here again. It was up here earlier.
Hey,
So,
Jerry.
so your rendering for the proposed sign underneath department, you've got your address and it has 4 halos that are tiered, one high and then another one tiered lower.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about for your
Yes.
design? You don't see that as like a potential issue for stuff being hung across it or whatever for the general public to have access to?
I mean, it's pretty high up, but that's something that we would look into making it more than it being, you can go through on the other side. Maybe we just make it.
Are these
solid.
just attached to the surface, or are they freestanding?
They're attached to the surface.
Okay, so you really couldn't hang anything on them?
Well, to
Unless you had a hanger.
based on the rendering, you can see it. You can see it in the rendering that you could possibly hang something there.
Okay,
I mean, it's showing that
right.
you could hang something there.
I just see for the maintenance factor for the city, that being exposed like that could be a challenge, you know, for people wanting to do damage to the sign.
We could probably make it more solid.
Yeah.
I mean, some kind of revision.
They're also about 50 feet away from the jail.
Maybe you want to go.
It'd be like going to Mr. Dillon's porch and throwing a brick through his window. But I get your point.
As you run
But
around
believe
town,
me,
it's,
I say this. I
don't think
drove
they
my
care.
father's car across the front lawn of the police station in 1968 and got arrested. That was foolish and stupid. People do dumb
Oh, yeah.
things.
There's some
Okay.
who want to go to jail, and that would be a perfect opportunity.
All right.
All right, so.
I was mentioning it only for defacing purposes. That was all.
Well, I think it was a good suggestion,
Yeah.
and they can follow up on that.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion somewhere here?
Sure.
I have a thought before we make the motion.
sure.
You know, we're talking about defacing, and I look at the base of it, and it looks like it's maybe a concrete or something base. That would be great for graffiti.
So, as Tricia recommended, that we would need to have some landscaping around the sign. So maybe we'd put something in that would deter somebody from getting in there.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know, guys, that it's really appropriate for us to make design
Right.
suggestions. I
Yeah.
think that they've submitted what their proposal is, the city has, and we either
All right.
agree or don't. And I think we're
Yeah.
kind of getting outside of our realm of responsibility.
It's a good suggestion for the client, though,
Yep.
to consider
Yeah,
anti-graffiti
again, I
paint.
mean, I'll defer
But
to the
yes.
city attorney, but I don't think it's appropriate for
It's-
us to
yeah.
tell them how to build their sign.
Yeah, let's just focus on moving the process forward with focusing on the design criteria.
Okay. With that, any other comments? Alan?
I would like to make a motion to approve the resolution under case number UDP HP 25012 located at 1300 West Broward Boulevard, based on the facts and findings as outlined in the staff memorandum and subject to the following conditions. Use either push-through or halo lit letters for the police department letters to enhance the overall appearance of the sign within the context of the historic district. Number 2, setback of 5 feet and total square footage to be verified by zoning at the time of permitting. And 3, this application is subject to approval by building zoning, all ULDR requirements, including landscaping at the base of the sign.
Thank you.
Okay. Seconded by Shane. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? The motion carries. Good luck with everything. So next we have, for the good of the city, well, communication to the city commission. We don't have anything, do we? We have something coming up at the city commission.
So there was a communication to the city commission that was on the June 17th agenda, and it was a communication from the board about the Sailboat Bend Vision Plan, just to make sure that they support, some of the initiatives that are outlined within that plan as we move forward with developing that and pursuing some of the items that are within that document. And at the moment, in the proposed budget, there is some funding outlined in it for a streetscape plan for the Sailboat Bend Historic District. So it's not an approved budget, but it's a good thing that it's in the proposed budget.
So when you say streetscape, that's just for decorative trees and stuff? It's not
So it's a master
including-
plan for the streetscape
It
itself.
doesn't address the flooding issues there.
There are other aspects of the vision plan that talk about that specifically. There's some upcoming stormwater improvements that are kind of in the pipeline, so to
Okay.
speak, for the neighborhood. And there's several neighborhoods that are outlined, coming up in the next tranche of the stormwater improvements. And Sailboat Bend is included in that.
Good.
So that may resolve some things, but when that does happen and if portions of the street are removed as part of that, we would have a plan in place for how it would be put back together, and maybe some improvements that might take place at that time, but also for future development, so there's consistency throughout the neighborhood as time goes on. So we do have a couple of short presentation discussion items that we'll go over. Jerry, do you have the presentation for the TDRs? Okay, yeah. So just as a short refresher, I'm going to go over TDRs really quick. We did, at the last time we talked about this, this kind of the same information that I had presented at that time. We had made a lot of significant updates since Sean came on board with us. We've been meeting regularly with Jay Adams about some of his concerns and recommendations and talking through those. And we're at a point where, we're ready to move forward to Planning and Zoning Board. We'll continue to talk with Jay and Maggie, who have expressed interest in this ordinance, and working with the county as well. So this starts a couple of years ago when the board actually made a motion to the City Commission to find ways to improve this program. So we've been talking through this ordinance for almost a year now. I think it came before you guys in September last year initially, and kind of been going back and forth and taking some time as staff to revisit some of the conversations. Can we move forward? And just as a reminder, there's two different parts to the TDR process. One is certificates of eligibility, which is the initial calculation of available development rights for a historic property. And then, can you move forward? And then the other aspect is certificate of transfer, which is the actual transaction between a historic property selling development rights to a new development. And that is a real estate transaction that's private, but there's paperwork that has to be done within the city and recordation of documents to ensure that it's permanently transferred. If you could move forward. So there's several different aspects of the code that are being updated. I won't go through all of these. And go ahead. Did you
I have a quick question on two of them. Just so I understand them. Number 4, ability to transfer floor area to increase the floor plate size at a receiving site. So the floor plate size at a receiving site is part of the receiving site's criteria.
So each receiving site would have certain requirements within the code as far as what they can build to. The areas that would be able to expand on their floor plate size, they are located in regional activity centers, and they have form-based codes that are associated with each area. And they have different regulations that go along with each of them that kind of constrict the development at certain points. So podium height is restricted, the floor plate size on top of a podium, and that's related to your tower, is also restricted, and there's different square footages that are related depending on where you are building and what kind of project you're building, and we'll get into that a little bit more.
I just thought the other one was number 6, ability to retransfer TDR. So in other words, once you've gotten them on your property, you can then take them and retransfer
So
them
that is
elsewhere.
something new that we've implemented over the past couple of months, that there is a mechanism within the code that you can now retransfer the development rights to another new development if you've already transferred them from a historic site.
Okay.
So it gives a little bit more certainty to a developer if, ultimately they can't utilize those development rights, that they could then.
So they always have those credits, those rights.
They would have the ability to transfer it to another eligible site. So I'll go through a couple of these over the next couple of slides. And so one new thing that we're implementing is the ability for receiving areas to obtain density based on their zoning district. So previously we had it as it would be transferred to the unified flex zone, but now we're listing out each of the different zoning districts that could be eligible receiving areas. And then the amount of density that they could receive and the number of units would be based on what you can actually build in that location, rather than restricting it by number. The previous code and the current code has a restriction of 10 units per acre in addition to what you can build there. We found that that was just too restrictive in most cases and wasn't giving us enough flexibility to utilize the TDR program. Can we go to the next slide, please? And this is somewhat complicated, so it's it's hard for everyone to understand sometimes, because there are a lot of different parts to our zoning code, a lot of different districts. But this slide is basically showing all the different districts that are within the unified flex zone, and the ones that are highlighted are the ones that you could transfer to in the updated version of the code. So a few are left out, but it's primarily because they are smaller zoning districts where they should not be expanding on height or density so much as the other locations that have a little bit more room for growth.
Tricia, where is the Uptown Urban Village located?
It's in Uptown, so it's off of Coconut Creek. What is it? Cypress Creek. Sorry.
Oh, up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always get that confused. So it is like in our upper peninsula of Fort Lauderdale. We can move forward, please. And just kind of as an overall view of how units are distributed within the county, and this is something that I do think it's a bit difficult to understand and wrap your head around if you're not familiar with it, but we get units allocated to the city from the county in different ways. So we have units that are within our RACs, our regional activity centers. We have the unified flexibility units. We also have units that are specifically for affordable housing as part of the flexibility units. We have Geller units that can be purchased through just from the county through the affordable housing program.
Is that the correct spelling, Geller? Gellar?
It may not be.
I'm not familiar with what that is.
It's a county commissioner. Did I misspell it? No,
it's the county commissioner.
It's the county commissioner who
ER.
created, the program.
Yeah.
My apologies. I'll update that.
Okay.
And then we have residential zoning districts where you automatically get density assigned to your parcel depending on where you're located. So if you're located in RS8, you have a density assigned to your area, which is 8 units per acre, or RMM 25, it's 25 units per acre. It's already built in. We are working on a policy to update the ability to utilize affordable housing units that are allocated through the flexibility units, specifically for affordable housing, but also TDRs and for smaller developments under 50 units per acre. So it gives us a little bit more of access to these units that aren't totally available right now. if we could move forward. Just to give you kind of a visual of what this looks like, this is the overall map of where the receiving areas would be located. And next slide. And zoomed in, you see that the uptown area is that area highlighted off to the left-hand side. And then, but it's more of a zoomed in view.
It really is like Upper Michigan.
Yeah, it's really like the Upper Peninsula. The next slide. And then that's our central city and the southern portion of the city that shows the receiving areas. So this is a little bit different than the unified flex area where we're cutting out some of the parts, but it's a little more focused in the ability to identify where those units could be transferred to. Next slide. We've also updated the calculations. I should have this in front of me. Where you can, we had it previously where you had to submit drawings for properties that are located in racks to calculate how much density that you have available to transfer from a historic site. So instead of having a property owner submit plans, we've prepared a calculation, but also given the ability to get a bonus, a 25% bonus on top of that, if you are, using that calculation, or even if you're in a residential area, and that's dependent on the availability of flexibility units, which we foresee as we would probably have, but we do have to write that in just as a precaution. And the next slide. And this is just an example of that formula where you're using FAR to calculate how much square footage or how many units you can get from the square footage of the parcel that you're building on. Next slide. And then to your point, Arthur, earlier, this is the example of the increase in the tower floor plate size, where you have the ability to increase 15% of your tower floor plate, and it results in a few thousand square feet in certain instances.
If you're transferring it from a...
You're transferring it from a historic site to a new development that's building a tower. And next slide. And those areas are broken down into two different categories for transferring floor area, because it can equate to height, or it can also equate to floor plate size. There's a little bit more flexibility in the receiving areas for height, just because they don't necessarily have restrictions on the floor plate size like some of the regional activity centers do. And next slide. And then just the ability to retransfer is part of the code, just going back through the same process that the transfer occurred in the first place. Next slide. And then that's really it. I think we've developed a good version of the code at this point. We have still several more public hearings to go through. Planning and Zoning Board, and then 2 hearings at City Commission. We'll also be meeting with the county next week to review some of this as well. But we are looking to, ask for your support in this endeavor and have a motion as such.
Okay. Questions, comments, motions?
I just wanted to thank you guys for the perseverance on this. It'll be interesting to follow how it goes forward. I hope that it's used, and if all the steps go forward, we can get periodic updates on all.
Yeah, of course. And I think, if we discover there's an opportunity for improvement down the line or something that's not quite working right, we can always revisit that. But I do think it's an improved ordinance.
Yes. I'm glad you had one applicant who was going through the process to help you figure this out, because I'm sure that had to have been very insightful.
Yes, and we are close to the transfer.
Okay. So, would anyone like to make a stab at a motion?
Sure. I move that the Historic Preservation Board endorse the proposed ordinance updates to the Unified Land Development Regulations, Article 7, Transfer of Development Rights.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The motion carries. Thank you. So now, I guess we have item 6C, UDP T25007, Historic Designation Notices Text Amendment.
Yes, so this is another ordinance update. It's a lot more straightforward than the TDR ordinance.
Oh, good.
Jerry, if we could go back to the main presentation for the meeting. And it's towards the end there. That one, yeah. So this ordinance amendment is primarily to address additional notice requirements for nonprofit organizations that are submitting historic designation applications. This would include an additional noticing requirement prior to submission of a historic designation application for either a historic landmark or a historic district. It would also require a nonprofit organization to hold a public participation meeting with the property owner prior to the Historic Preservation Board meeting. So giving them an opportunity to talk about the application in more depth prior to coming to the board for the public hearing. And then we did provide a few miscellaneous edits throughout, primarily to provide some consistency in the text and just to make it clearer. But the primary aspect of it is just really to provide those additional noticing steps for nonprofits specifically.
Is a nonprofit corporation considered the city? What if the city brings
Well,
something
it's not
forward?
including this. The city already has built-in requirements if the HPB or city commission were to make a motion to initiate a designation application, and then it falls on to staff to do additional noticing regardless.
Sure.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why is this required from nonprofit and not an individual?
So the applications can be submitted by a few different entities. One is the Historic Preservation Board. One is the City Commission. Then the other would be a nonprofit corporation, or otherwise it's coming from a property owner or group of property owners that are have an interest in that actual structure, group of structures that would be under consideration for designation. So it's
no longer available to someone who's got nothing to do with the property.
right. That was changed several years ago.
Years back, John Doe could walk into a neighborhood and say,
Correct.
I'd
Yeah.
like to fill an application
Right.
out for that property.
Yeah, in
That's-
2019 that was updated.
So the owners, the only other way it could be,
Correct.
would be those other
Yeah.
entities, and that an owner doesn't need to notify himself that he's going to be
Right.
asking for designation. But this
Correct.
is for nonprofits.
Yes, like if a,
Yeah, I
you know,
like this. This is extremely
yeah,
aggressive.
It gives a little bit more outreach to the
It keeps everybody
property
in the
owner.
loop.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I have one question, and I probably know the answer. I know that newspaper notices have always been included because everyone used to read a newspaper.
I agree with you here.
I'm just wondering, isn't there a more up-to-date way to give notice somehow?
I mean, we haven't received direction from the city commission as far as changing that across the board. We
just
do
raising the
newspaper
question.
notices.
Yeah. How many people
for
really
everyone.
look for a notice in a newspaper today?
I don't have that data, but
You don't have the notice, or you don't have the newspaper?
we do keep
So-
track of the notices.
In addition to what he's suggesting, doesn't the city's website have like a note board for things? And would this be inclusive to the notification?
So each of our public hearings is on our city calendar, and then each of the public hearings has a website where you can view the agenda and all the backup material at least 48 hours prior to the board meeting. I know we usually post about 1 week prior. Most boards, I think, post in advance of the actual meeting date. So that's an additional route. We do send emails to all of the Civic Association presidents, notifying them of something on the agenda or of the agenda itself. And then we have these required notices. We did add sign notices a few years ago, which weren't in place.
And I take back my comment on the newspaper. I'm sure there's at least one person who follows it in the newspaper.
Two.
Two? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, please continue.
Well, that's really it. It's a relatively straightforward endeavor, but we would be looking again to have support from the board to move this forward to Planning and Zoning Board.
So do you need any action from the board?
Yes, a motion.
A motion to approve?
In support.
In support.
Yes.
Can we have a motion in support?
I just wish we could see just one little bit more effort to the owner of the property. What happens when is it possible for the designation to go through and then the owner of the property says, I didn't get anything in the mail. I didn't see anything in the newspaper. I'm asking,
Yeah.
I'm asking.
It's one of the requirements is first class mail or notice.
Right.
It's still, okay, so first class mail.
We do get a-
certified? Signed
This
for?
doesn't say certified, but first class mail.
So in the case of a historic landmark, it does go certified. For a historic district, it's first class, but in either case, sign notices are posted as well in front of the property. And with the additional language for the nonprofit, we're saying you have to reach out directly to them to have a meeting.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I didn't see that. The nonprofit would have to have a one-on-one with the owner. So if this did
Yeah.
come down to a debate, they would have to show that they actually saw John Doe and said, we're looking at your home. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
required to make the effort to schedule it. I mean,
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question though. To your point, where the next part, let's see what section this is. So it gets A to A5. The failure to receive the mail notice shall not invalidate, but they still have to give the mail notice, right?
they have to give mail notice, but that's across the board within all of our noticing sections.
And this is just trying to say if you don't check your mail, you can't.
Right.
circumvent.
Can't say that you didn't receive it. But we do, like with the certified mail notices, we do get a receipt for, they picked up that particular piece of mail to verify that somebody got it, whether or not they read it.
Well, there's a signature.
Yeah. Yeah, we do, we can track it through a number associated with that piece of mail.
So do we have a motion?
I move that the Historic Preservation Board endorse the proposed ordinance updates to Unified Land Development Regulations, Section 47-27.7, Historic Designation Notices.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
And then we have one other small update that is actually kind of fun and good news. Jerry, can we bring up the presentation on the signs? Yes.
This is the sailboat bend signs.
Correct. So we received a grant last summer to do an interpretive sign project and walking tour in the Sailboat Bend Historic District. We have been in development with this for over the past year almost, but through different steps of getting a sign company and doing research and preparing all of this information. And I would like to just say Lena has done like a massive work with this project. She has done a wonderful job, and we've had assistance with other people within our group and division as well, including Tyler LaForme, who is an urban planner, and Ella Parker, who has helped to just review all of the language included in the signs themselves. So the overall project includes 8 different signs that would be placed throughout the neighborhood. We are currently in production on the signs. We have a very limited time for these types of projects. We only have 1 year from the date, pretty much, that they assign the grant to us to get the project completed. So it's fast-paced. But we did want to share with you kind of what we are working on, and we are anticipating that the signs will be ready by the end of July, first part of August, and then we'd start installation immediately. So these are kind of the rough areas where we would be placing the signs throughout the neighborhood, and we'll go one by one. So Jerry, if you could advance. That's just a list of the locations, but we'll get into more detail as we go through. This is the frame design of the actual project with kind of a image of what the educational component of the sign would look like. And if you could advance that. Are you okay with me talking? Okay. So this is the first location. It's right across the street from the chimney house. That would be located in kind of a swale area facing the sidewalk. And next slide. And this is the sign itself. It includes the history of the historic district. So it has some excerpts of, quotes from people within the neighborhood that were involved with it being developed into a historic district, and a timeline of how it was approved. And next slide. And the second location is in Cooley's Landing Park, which is a city-owned marina. And next slide. And this would be talking about the New River specifically and the history of the marina itself. So it was, I think this one was kind of a fascinating one as far as the research was concerned. There was kind of a raft competition on the New River, and they created all these fun rafts. People lived on the boats in the mini marina. It was just a fun atmosphere, it seemed at the time, and then it was eventually turned into the marina that we know today. And there's a little timeline to that effect at the bottom. And next slide. This is the third sign, which is related to kind of the early pioneers of the Sailboat Bend Historic District. We may have to move the sign to just a slightly different location, but this is kind of generally where we're planning it because it relates to the history of the information that's portrayed on the sign. Next slide, please. And it talks about the history of the Commodore and his sister, Lady Claire, that lived next door to him, and kind of their involvement with the formation of Fort Lauderdale. The Commodore was involved with marketing and had a big sign when you entered Fort Lauderdale about fish and attracting people. And so this particular sign highlights some of the early pioneers that lived within the Sailboat Bend Historic District. And next slide. And then the next sign would be located in William Lauderdale Park and talk more about the early history and early settlements related to Rivermont and some of the Native Americans that were settled along the New River. And next slide. So it gets into that history with some of those stories related to the patterns within Sailboat Bend and some of the findings that we have on record with the Rivermont site across the street. And next slide. And this sign would be located on the swing bridge itself. So kind of like as you approach the swing bridge, and we would design, this sign is going to be a little bit different than the other ones where it's not going to have that apron on top of the sign, just to allow more visibility onto the river. As you're looking at the sign, you can enjoy that view shed. And next slide. Next. Okay. And this sign in particular is talking about kind of the early settlers again, and what was occurring kind of around the time of kind of before it was platted, the area was platted, and the development of the swing bridge as well. And next slide. This sign would go at the West Side Fire Station, just to the east of the doors to the fire station. Some of the other areas on it has a lot of signage already in honor of the firefighters and everything. So we didn't want to mix up some of that information.
The sign we just approved.
Yeah, it's not going to be right next to that sign. But next slide. And this sign talks about the Florida East Coast Railway and how that came into Fort Lauderdale and some of the people involved with that, like Mary Brickle and her husband, and then also the fire station itself and the design of it and its impact on the city at that point in time, just after a fire. And next slide. And this is our 7th sign, which would be located right at the West Side Schoolhouse. And next slide. It gives a lot of history about the development boom times, so around the 1920s, and that coincides with the time period in which the school was built and the history of the school. Yes, did you have a question? Or no?
Oh.
No? Okay.
I have a comment. Just
yes.
I looked like I was going to say something.
Yes.
You went to school there. No. There's so much wonderful information here, and you put it together so beautifully. This would make a great little pamphlet for people to understand what the neighborhood is all about.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely look into printing. It's
Right.
going to be displayed on a web application that's a digital walking tour
Okay.
as well. So
My other quick question is, for a stranger to the neighborhood, how will they know to get from point 5 to point 6?
yeah, that'll be part of the web application where we'll be putting in.
No yellow brick road or
no.
something?
Maybe in the future.
Okay.
Honestly, that was one of the first ideas. I mean, it will be great to mark the landscape as well, like to make the route visible, like material, not just web
Right.
or digital.
I've noticed sometimes in hospitals now, they have a color-coded stripe that you follow to get to where you're going.
We'll need another grant.
I understand. But there's a lot of wonderful
Yeah.
information
No,
there.
it really came together. It's amazing. And then the next slide, this is our last stop on the walking tour, which would be Townsend Park on the western side of Sailboat Bend. And next slide. And this is really focused on that post-war period and the development that occurred at that time, architectural styles throughout the neighborhood, and provides a fun timeline of housing development.
I have a question. First of all, a lot of work went into this. From an artistic point of view, it seems very attractive, a lot of information. Who put it together and where did you get the information?
So a lot of it started from a survey of the Sailboat Bend Historic District. Really, Sailboat Bend has been surveyed multiple times over the years. There was an updated survey in 2020, like finished in 2021. And part of that included a story map that really kind of talked about a lot of these subjects. And bouncing off of that, then Lena took a lot of that, initial information, but built on it even more so to just kind of find stories and develop information. And that came from a lot of newspaper articles, past research that was done. We have a few really good resources for the city of Fort Lauderdale history, including one book called Checkered Sunshine. And the Fort Lauderdale Historical Society has also been a major partner in this this project, giving us images and that they have on their files.
Thank you. I would, again, because it was, I think it's so spectacularly done, I would like you to capitalize on the previous that we put something together, or you put something together, handouts, make them available for businesses. I think we'll get some mileage, you can get mileage out of this.
So we'll probably partner with the Historical Society to try to find a way where we can advertise there to visitors of that location. We'll be looking to kind of have a big announcement once we're ready, once the signs are installed, as kind of like a kickoff to having this sign program available. And I think I forgot to mention the signs themselves are bigger than the TV, maybe it's 4 feet wide by 2 feet in height. So they're more kind of lengthwise, so you kind of read the panel. And then the font is no smaller than 20 point font. So it's pretty readable, even if it seems kind of tiny
So
on the
Tricia,
screen.
what do you need from the board?
We don't need anything. We just really wanted to share the progress with you and give you an update on this project itself.
Looks very exciting.
Yeah, very nice.
Okay. If that's
That's
it, unless nobody has anything else, we're open to a motion to adjourn.
Hallelujah.
No, you have to say.
Oh, I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Anybody want a second? Okay. We're adjourned.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hours, Bravo 45.
They call for on-duty SWAT, then I got to bounce. My name is Officer Pascal France. I've been with the Fort Lauderdale Police Department for over 17 years now. I got to have one of the best experiences of my lifetime, one of the most exciting times I ever had.
So now it's time to change into your flight suit.
When I received the opportunity to nominate Pascal, I immediately thought of all the opportunities that he's had to serve us, to not only represent the Fort Lauderdale Police Department, but to make a lifetime goal and mission of his come alive.
My father was in the Air Force. We grew up on military bases, so we always, every time the Thunderbirds would come, get to see them and watch them fly, all the air shows. They took me in, talked to me, let me know, dealing with the G-forces. And then after that, they walked me over, fitted me for a flight suit. Vest, helmet, talked to me about emergency procedures.
It's official now. All right, ready to go.
I appreciate the recognition and the fact that they put me to be in a position to even do this. Forever thankful, forever grateful. Thank you guys so much.
It's truly a great day for him, being the first Fort Lauderdale officer to go and participate in the flight of the hometown heroes.
So I'm gonna head out. That walk from the door out to the plane was so unreal. It was a mix of emotions all hitting me at once, and just like, man, this is really happening. This is gonna be an amazing experience. We're lined up on the runway, and he is talking to the tower, and they gave him the clearance. He took off, and I remember being pushed back, and everything's flying past you. And the most intense, it was the barrel rolls. That was intense for me. The aircraft can do 9 Gs. He goes, you know, we could do a 9G pull if you want. So he's like, you ready? I'm like, go for it. Then he turned, went down, pulled it straight up. I remember my body just, I literally felt like I weighed 3,000 pounds. And we hit 9.2 Gs. And I was excited, but also the pilot himself, he was super excited. He's like, oh my God, you hit it. A whole new level of feeling and emotions, excitement that you'll never think of, but I went through it, I did it, and I can never duplicate it. It's just, I'm so honored, so blessed, so happy.
Each of the leaders being sworn in today brings a unique perspective, a wealth of experience, and an unwavering passion for our community.
I, Dean Trentalis,
do solemnly swear
and that I will faithfully
perform the duties of office of mayor.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. This new commission has many challenges ahead. I know we're going to work well together. I'm really excited about the commission.
I, John Herbst,
do solemnly swear. So help me God.
I look forward to working in a spirit of partnership and collaboration.
That I will support the Constitution.
So help me God.
I feel just totally blessed to not just live here, but also serve a city such as Fort Lauderdale.
That I will faithfully perform the duties of the office.
So help me God.
I want you to know this is not just my journey, this is our journey together.
Repeat after me. I, Ben Sorensen.
I, Ben Sorensen.
Hey, Louise.
Great, you did awesome. I look forward to working together with all of you to make our city an even better place to live, work, and play.
Each of the leaders being sworn in today brings a unique perspective, a wealth of experience, and an unwavering passion for our community.
I, Dean Trentalis,
do solemnly swear
and that I will faithfully
perform the duties of office of mayor.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. This new commission has many challenges ahead. I know we're going to work well together. I'm really excited about the commission.
I, John Herbst,
do solemnly swear. So help me God.
I look forward to working in a spirit of partnership and collaboration.
That I will support the Constitution.
So help me God.
I feel just totally blessed to not just live here, but also serve a city such as Fort Lauderdale.
That I will faithfully perform the duties of the office.
So help me God. I want you to know This is not just my journey, this is our journey together.
Repeat after me. I, Ben Sorensen.
I, Ben Sorensen. Louise. Great, you did awesome. I look forward to working together with all of you to make our city an even better place to live, work, and play.